Hi, I'm Shruti.
Hi, I'm Shukti.
Hi, I'm Shreeya. And welcome to episode 4 of Natter.
Woo woo!
Before we kick off, I have to apologise for the last episode. I sounded terrible, probably because I was full of hay fever-esque symptoms and sneezing away in the background, sniffling away as well. So I sound terrible. Please don't worry about my health. Spring, summertime hits me hard in this country.
Don't worry, I'm sure no one lost sleep over it.
No, I did.
So, quick catch up. What have you guys been up to?
Well, I think you two will be very, very proud of me. I defended my children from a spider's intrusion on our property today. It was ginormous. It was so big. My little boy is usually not scared of spiders. He's all right with it. He's all right with wildlife in their natural habitat, not in our natural habitat.
Right.
So he's like, Mummy, can you get me a tissue? So I thought he was going to grab the spider with the tissue and throw it outside like he's done in the past. He's done that in the past. No, he threw the tissue at the spider.
Was it a big one?
It was massive. It's building a web as well, so it wanted to call our digs his permanent digs.
Okay.
How did you get it?
I ushered it out of...
How did you usher a spider out?
I ushered it out of the bathroom window with the Hoover nozzle.
Oh,
That sounds terrifying.
that gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Terrifying for me or the spider?
It's terrifying for me to hear this story.
Yeah, same.
I don't like it.
I know this is probably also, again, very strange after hearing last episode where we were talking about being kind to animals and how much we love animals, but they're just scary, spiders are.
Honest to God, if I was in the same position, I would take the kids and go to Mum and Pa's house. There's no way, until someone has come and taken that spider away. I would just flee the country.
Can I just say, my son was in his boxer shorts, just getting ready. We weren't in a flea-worthy mode as such, because my daughter was in her pyjamas, my son's in his boxers, and I'm just there trying to resolve the situation without causing too much panic. I think I caused a lot of panic.
It's very noble.
You know, the complete opposite happened to me today. I was out and about and I was coming home, and as I was about to put the key through the keyhole, there was a spider on the wall right next to it. So I had to call Mum, be like, Mum, I need to come to the door because there's a spider right near the door handle. So she comes outside and she's like, where is it? And I'm like, there. I'm like pointing at it. She's like, where? I'm like, there. And she literally had to stand between me and the spider as a wall with her arms out while I just shimmied past in the space that was left.
What if it jumped on Mum?
I don't know how Mum wasn't thinking that was going to happen, because she is also scared like us, but she deals with it out of love for us.
Oh.
And that's why, because she's also said to me I get scared too, and I'm like, do you? And she's like, yes.
Gosh.
She got really close to it though, but I don't think she realised how big it was because it was on the bricks.
Is it spider season there now?
Spider season's in August, September.
So can I just say, so it was Mummies to the rescue today?
Yeah, it was Mummy's
Yeah,
like
sounds like it.
Mummies against spiders unite.
On a real, I don't often see spiders here. Genuinely, I don't. It's quite rare. But no, when Shreeya comes to visit me, there's always spiders around. She's like the Pied Piper of spiders.
all animals.
When she comes to visit you, the spiders come to visit her.
Yes.
No, it's not just spiders. How many dogs did I make friends with when I came to see you as well? And cats.
The dogs are there even when you're not there. The spiders are not there when you're not there.
I attract all animals. They just show up.
Especially spiders.
I don't know what it is. I try to keep them at bay. I try to negotiate. I try to put peppermint spray around my door frame so that they stay. If they want to hang around, just not in my space.
There, a little tip for everybody from Shreeya. Peppermint spray.
Oh, this is something I learned really recently about spiders, since we're on the same topic. I read something recently. They know your routine, like house spiders. They learn your routine. So if you ever see them around, it's because you're doing something that's not your routine.
Ew. So I think lizards have a similar thing. The last flat I was living in, there was a lizard. I packed my bags and I left. Until the lizard was taken care of. I can't do it. Lizards, cockroaches, anything that's not supposed to be living in my flat and I see it, I will just pack my bags and leave. Every time I'd come home from work, the lizard would just be popping its head out from under my cupboard.
Oh my gosh.
And then I'd freeze and it'd freeze and then I'd retreat and then I'd send my flatmate in and then it wasn't there. But then the next day,
oh my God,
I'd come back and it'd be there again. I switched the light on, head's popping out from under the wardrobe.
Oh my
God.
God.
And then I had to get pest control to escort it out.
It's like a peekaboo lizard. I like
This
it.
reminds me of that video that was going around on socials last year or something, of that girl that was trying to get the gecko out of her house. Do you remember it?
That.
And she's literally crying. And she's got a frying pan entangled.
I'd be worse. Speaking of intrusion eaten by wild animals. At uni, when my flat got infested with mice.
The kitchen.
No, my room.
Oh my God.
I was in my final year and I was sat on my bed and I was watching a TV show. I was eating ice cream, like, have my cozy time in my pajamas. Out the corner of my eye, I saw something white dart across the ground and I just froze. And then let out a massive scream. And my housemate was literally wetting herself laughing at me. And she was totally not bothered about it. So I literally packed my bags and moved next door to my next door neighbour's house. And I camped out in her bedroom for about a week until pest control had, been and gone.
I have to say, this isn't the best way to start off after just doing a cruelty-free episode.
It's not. We love them all. We don't want mice and spiders and stuff in the house, but we don't want to hurt them. We just don't want to share our space with them. You know what I mean?
We're easily startled as well. At least I am.
You are.
I am.
You're really easily startled.
I'm quite the jumpy one, I have to say.
Remember that time you came out the loo and I was just waiting on the landing and you screamed at me? And you were like, why are you there? And I was like, I'm waiting for the loo.
Shukti, I'm sure you screamed at me when I exited my room looking dishevelled.
That's because you were looking dishevelled. And this is a good place to start the topic of the day.
Yeah, it is.
Because you were looking like what we're going to be talking about, right?
That was not my intention, can I just say? I thought I'd had my beauty sleep and I looked lovely. And it's the first thing in the morning, but obviously my hair was not doing what I wanted it to do.
Don't be ridiculous. You looked like
a Jarell.
The little girl from what was it called?
The Exorcist.
Exorcist. Yeah, you look like that girl in The Exorcist who's possessed.
It wasn't a look I was going for. It wasn't Halloween, so.
So for everybody who is wondering, what is our topic of the day? It is supernatural and superstitions. The superstitions and the supernatural. Mm-hmm. That is what we're going to be talking about today. It's funny how Dids stepping out of a room looking dishevelled has led us to this topic. But that is what it is. I was petrified. Let's rein it in. Let's start this topic, okay?
Are we starting with superstitions? Should we start?
Yes, let's start with superstitions. So, like, the three of us are of British and Indian heritage, and both of these cultures do come with a lot of superstitions that people believe, like, in the culture. So, I mean, the school that we went to, there were things like, don't open the umbrella inside, it's bad luck. Don't walk under the ladders, it's bad luck. And this was like a Church of England school.
Yeah.
It was the complete opposite to the Indian stuff. However, it kind of overlapped as well in a weird way, like the black cat crossing the road. Do you guys want to share some random superstitions that you heard?
The one that I found most ludicrous in terms of the Indian superstitions was if you're leaving the house at 2:15 or 2:45, that it's bad luck. That one I can't quite understand. But then there's another one that says that if you leave the house and you sneeze, you have to go back in and drink a glass of water before leaving again. Now, that one I kind of get because it seems as though you open the door, you sneeze because you're exposed to the elements. So it might be a way of preventing you from catching a cold. But at the 2:15, I don't get. And I always found that to be the weirdest one. And it was one that I think was introduced to us by an older auntie.
That is also something that I've been told in Mumbai as well by someone that I've met who was a psychic. I know that sounds really weird that I went to see a psychic, but I just realised that I just said that without giving it any kind of context. But yeah, I went to see a psychic anyway. And she was discouraging me leaving her place, I think it was 2:15 the hour. And she was like, no, just wait 5 minutes and then go. I should have really asked her, why? But then even things like, I don't know if people have heard this one before, like washing your hair or washing your clothes on a Tuesday or a Thursday, or sometimes Saturday as well. Saturday's added as well.
Saturday one as well? I didn't know that.
Yeah. The only logical conclusion I can come to about this is maybe wherever this superstition came from, there was a water shortage or something. You need to be bathing for longer, right? When you're washing your hair, washing your clothes takes water as well. So maybe there was a water shortage at some point. I don't know. I don't know exactly what that is. But no, there are some random ones. I mean, I did a bit of research on the topic and there's a couple of ones that I've not heard of. The ones that, I don't even know which part of my brain to put this in. At nighttime in India, lots of people, I'm not even saying people who live in the rural parts of India, but people in Mumbai, educated, very modern in their thought process, have literally said to me, don't wash your hair and leave it loose and wear perfume and go outside at night because a witch will get attracted to it.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
And then she'll possess you. And then today I heard another one as well. After we decided that this is what we're going to talk about, I heard another one, which was, along with all these other things that you shouldn't do when you go out at night, is don't eat anything sweet and go out at night because, again, a witch will get attracted to you.
Uh-oh.
Then maybe I am a witch Because I would literally wash my hair, leave it loose, wear perfume whenever I go out at
No,
night.
it doesn't make you a witch. It makes a witch attracted to you. But this is interesting as well because, like, Mum always says whenever you're going somewhere to eat something sweet before you leave. So I guess it's not the same thing.
That's so weird.
There's also two other things that I was going to mention that Mum always tells me off for, and I always forget to not do it. One of them being another thing that I do at night is I whistle, and she doesn't like it if I'm whistling and we're outside at night. Apparently, that attracts ghosts or witches or something, so she tells me off for that, and I've got a habit of doing it, like as we're walking up the drive, and jingling keys.
So another one that I heard was that if you put a clove of garlic in your pocket, and that keeps the ghosts away, which is kind of like the whole thing about to get rid of vampires, you eat garlic.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of weird, isn't it, that like across cultures there are these crossovers.
There's a lot of
Something to do with like colonial times, or whether it just happened independently. It'd be really interesting to like pick them apart and figure out what caused what and what came about first. But I don't think any of us have that kind of insight. But it is really interesting. There's a lot that relate to nighttime, and I wonder if that's got to do with the fact that obviously in rural India there wouldn't have been energy sources back in the day. Even in urban India there wouldn't have been energy sources. Across the world there weren't. So that's where I think we get the don't clip your toenails at night, because that one's like, okay, you invite ghosts. I think that one.
So I mean that kind of makes sense, and that's probably why there is all this about don't go out like this or like this or like this or like this, because they're probably discouraging people from going out at night at all, because there'll be all these spirits. Rather stay in and stay safe and then go in the morning because there's no light outside. Another weird thing, okay, now I'm leaning into the supernatural thing now a little bit. So Mum did say to us that when a woman is pregnant, she's more likely or she's more, I don't know, has some kind of portal or something into like the supernatural world, right?
because she's creating life.
Maybe.
Hold on a second. She never told me, and I've been pregnant twice.
She has, because
Yeah.
she's told me while I've been at home, while we were like little, that she had like visions or something.
She had a lot of visions during Shukuti's time when she was in hospital. She has said.
I didn't have visions as such, but I remember when I just had the babies, I used to hallucinate all the time.
But is that because you were tired?
I put that down to sleep deprivation. So like I used to think, oh, my baby's in my arms, why hasn't my baby stopped crying? And my husband would be, your baby's in the cot, not in your arms.
So that must just be down to you've just had your baby and you're not feeling 100%.
And then I kept hallucinating that I had twins, and I'm like, where's the other one?
I remember you calling me about that, and I was like, okay, why do you think you have two?
It freaked me out because it was so real in my head.
I mean, it could just be that if we're trying to give a logical explanation, it could just be all the hormones during your pregnancy that going up and down, and you just kind of maybe being in a different state of mind altogether, and that's why you're seeing things.
Your body has just gone through trauma, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But even before that, even in the pregnancy stage, before you're having your baby, even then I think Mum was like, pregnant women have this like a thinner barrier to the supernatural world, which is weird because I don't think Mum really necessarily believes a lot in ghosts, but it's specific to this topic where she's spoken about it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, to be fair, I think it might be down to sleep deprivation again, because I barely slept when I was pregnant. It's just really uncomfortable. Like all pregnant women out there will know. It's not very fun, especially when you're quite far along. You can't quite get comfortable, and there's a lot of sleepless nights, and then you have to be functional in the morning if you work, which I had to be.
There might be something to it. I mean, there's also a lot of people that say that kids are more, I don't know what the word is to that.
Oh, they are.
Do you know what I mean?
just before we continue, right, should we just make it clear what each person's stance is on this subject, right? I am kind of neutral. I've had a couple experiences which I could say I've not seen anything, but I've had a feeling about stuff a couple times. So I'm kind of on the fence about the whole thing. I don't necessarily believe that there is a such thing as ghosts, or I believe in your spirit, your soul and stuff, but whether that kind of loiters, I'm not sure. But I'm on the fence. With most of the topics, you probably find that I'm on the fence, and I'm open to discussion about either aspect of it. What is your stance?
I would say that I started off being a massive skeptic. I've never really believed in the supernatural. It takes a lot to scare me. I mean, just literally the wild animals in my house would scare me. That is it. I will draw the line there. But there are a lot of things out there that are kind of a bit difficult to explain. I would probably call them like glitches in the Matrix, or maybe there's like a parallel world running adjacent to ours, and we sometimes swap realms somehow, which sounds really kind of weird, but we know very little about our identity, our being, our soul, like you mentioned as well. We know very little about all of these things. I am willing to believe that there might be something that can cause these things to occur. I'm not sure about, like a soul loitering, just because I've not experienced it myself. However, I wouldn't outright dismiss somebody who believes that there's something like that.
Shrees, what about you?
I feel like I've gone through so many different phases. I'm not entirely sure where I am at anymore. I feel like when I was a kid, I did think something of it, and then I think because Papa has been so against the whole supernatural thing and been very dismissive of it and totally does not believe in it, I think then for a while I didn't, and then I was also very sleep deprived for a little while, so then I also started to hallucinate a little bit, didn't really know what was going on. I do think I have felt at sometimes like I've been more perceptible to picking up on energies, not necessarily just from people, but also just in times when I am maybe around one other person, a couple other persons, sometimes when I'm alone, that I suddenly just feel like I need to kind of move from where I am because something not very nice is there. But in terms of the afterlife and a soul passing on and that kind of stuff, I am skeptical. I'm not sure where I sit with that. But I do feel like there's things around maybe that we don't know about, can't explain. And I'm kind of on the fence about that just because of what I've experienced.
I think us sitting on the fence might stem from the fact that we've been brought up with two very differing but very strong opinions on certain matters. I don't know what your guys' opinion is of that.
I haven't necessarily had, thank God I haven't, because this would probably be my last day on earth if I ever saw ghosts. Because if I'm startled by flipping Shreeya just being standing
there
on the landing, like just being there.
She opened a door and I was stood there, that was it.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine what would happen if I bumped into a ghost. Like, that would just be I would be the next ghost, right? That's what would happen. I've never had an experience like that, but am I fearful of it? Yeah, I am. Whereas I know you two are not as fearful. Like, I can't even watch horror movies, really.
Yeah.
Like, it's quite reluctantly that I watch horror movies because I get really freaked out. So for me, it's not so much that we've been raised with two differing opinions, because I don't think Mum has necessarily given much of... She's not really said much about this, apart from the pregnancy thing, where she thinks there's a portal specific to pregnant women. And Bar's stance has been very much that, oh no, ghosts don't exist. It's not possible for it to exist. But my general outlook on life is I don't disbelieve anything. Like, I'm open to believing that anything is possible. If it's been said, then it comes from someone's experience, right?
Yeah.
It can't be that it's rubbish. That's my opinion. And that's just what I have developed through my experience of life. So it's not really Mum and Pa's influence or how we've been raised. It's my own experience of life and talking to people and having these conversations. That's where I've got it from. But anyway, Shrees, do you want to talk a bit about your sleep paralysis right now?
Yeah, I can talk about my sleep paralysis. So mine's kind of come and gone throughout my life. The earliest that I remember having it and not knowing at this point what it was is being in the cot like a baby. So I'm talking like under the age of 2 in Mum and Pa's room and waking up and seeing things that weren't there. So the way sleep paralysis works, let me explain it if no one's heard of it before. Your deepest part of sleep ends up being REM sleep, which stands for rapid eye movement. It's essentially when you're sleeping. It depends on your body's defense mechanisms, I suppose. If they are too strong, you can end up in sleep paralysis, where you wake up in REM sleep and your body is literally paralyzed. It does not move, but you are conscious. But because of the way nature works and evolution works, so we're talking like when we were like cavemen and stuff, our defense mechanisms used to work so that we don't move when we sleep, so we don't attract anything that would eat us or hunt us, right? So if it's too strong, then you stay in paralysis mode and you end up in sleep paralysis, where you kind of keep dreaming, but your eyes are open, you just can't move. The opposite to that is sleepwalking. So if your defense mechanisms are not strong enough, you sleep and you wander about. That's kind of what sleep paralysis is. So yeah, my earliest kind of ones that I remember is waking up in the cot in Mum and Pa's room and seeing multiple people just stood there in the room that I do not know, do not recognize, like even as a baby. And they're just staring at me. And it would be a mixture of women and men. And there were other times, so I don't know if you remember, but Mum and Pa used to have these green curtains with purple flowers on. They sound hideous when I describe them like that. But that's what they were. And I would wait.
They were nice.
They were nice, but I mean, they sound hideous when I describe them like green curtains with purple flowers. But I could see, like, I'd wake up and I could see faces instead of these flowers on the curtains, like, looking at me. Then I remember when I then moved out of my cot and into a bedroom. That then continued then as well. And there was a lot of occasions where I would wake up and I would see a very tall man dressed in it looked like a complete black suit and just staring at me. And he was really, really tall. I mean, like, he was almost at the same height as the ceiling. And he would just be staring at me. I literally have to, like, force myself out of sleep paralysis. I'd always get this feeling in my hands, a bit like pins and needles, but I felt like if I try and move them, it felt like I was holding onto a really spiky ball, if you know what I mean. So it would almost like prickle my fingers. So a little bit more than when you have pins and needles. I'd have to really force myself out of it, and I'd usually just end up breaking out of it screaming and crying for Mom. And she, I know at that time, thought I was seeing ghosts. And she would just take me into her room to like calm down again. But it took me a really... I think I just grew out of it at some point. But then that was kind of what I used to end up seeing when I was little. After I moved out of their room, I never saw multiple people again. It was always just one man in the corner, sometimes in the doorway of the room, sometimes in the corner of the room. But it was always a similar description man. I could see his face, not anyone that I recognised. Again, just very tall, very slim, and just staring at me.
When did it stop?
I think it stopped somewhere around age 6, 7. But then it started again when I was in my first year of uni and moved out. And I don't know if that's because of the environment that I was living in, but it was student accommodation. But it used to be something else before, and this is kind of when my sleep paralysis started again. So I was about 18, and it came back with me seeing a lot of people that seemed relevant to who used to potentially have lived there before. So this is when I started to get a little bit freaked out, because this was not like what I had seen before. And it really confused me again. And at this point, I now understood what sleep paralysis was, because I studied it at psychology in A-levels. When I was like 16 or something, I was like, that makes sense. So luckily, by the time I'd moved out, and this was happening again when I was 18 in student accommodation, I realised what was happening. But it freaked me out because it was no longer this tall, thin man that was staring at me. It was now who I think used to live in that place before. So it was really, really weird.
You know, we've never discussed this before, but when I stayed at the same digs, I've heard similar stories from other people who believe that they have seen the people that used to live in those digs in either dreams or very distinctly out and about. But you kind of put it down to ramblings of drunk uni students, right? Sometimes. But it's the recurrence of them. I used to have some really weird dreams when I lived there. And again, I don't know if it was down to the environment, the stress of it all, of living in a communal kind of place where you haven't done that before. So I don't exactly know what caused it, but it's interesting that you mention it, because I don't think we've ever discussed this before.
Yeah.
I never had any experience like that there. So, I mean, all three of us went to the same uni and we lived in the same accommodation for our first year. So, Did and Shreeya are basically saying they've, I don't know, heard stuff or whatever. But to be honest, right, nothing happened with me like that. And I think back then I was a lot braver. Because, I mean, when you're 18, you think you're invincible anyway, innit? Yeah. So I was a lot braver. So me and my friends would even go and explore the places that were supposed to be a little spooky.
I went as well,
Yeah, we didn't have any such experience.
I was going to say another 2 things about sleep paralysis. I then didn't have it at the next student accommodation that I lived at the following year. I didn't have any issues there. But in my final year, I moved back home. And here it started again. Again, it was different. I had some occasions where I saw that man again, but there were other ones that were really different I had not had before. And I know I've mentioned it to you both before, where I saw a little version of me in the corner of my bedroom. I don't know if you remember, there's a picture of me when I had like my hair in a little fountain ponytail at the top of my head, and I had these blue and white, like a dress dungaree with my pink shoes. And it was that version of me, I think I was about 2 or something, that I could see. While I was in sleep paralysis, I've woken up and I've seen that version of me in the corner of the room near the door, and I've kind of wanted to ask her, like, what's wrong. At this point, I've not recognised her as me, but I wanted to ask her what's wrong, because she's hiding her face. And then as soon as I've thought, you know, what's wrong, are you okay, like I've thought it in my head and not been able to say it out loud, she's looked up at me and she's looked crazy. Like, I can't really explain it, but like how you see demonic children.
Stop it.
And then she has lunged onto me, like sat on my chest, and she's been like trying to strangle me. And that has gone on for about 10 seconds, I don't think more than that. But then I've snapped out of it and I've realised that I've just been in sleep paralysis. That has been my last experience of it, but that was the worst one I've had. Nothing else other than one time at the student halls has it had contact with me. Usually they've just been there as a presence, but that was only 2 times. Once in student halls, and this little version of me, they've actually made contact with me, like touched me.
Oh my God.
You know when you said you snapped out of
Yeah.
it, were you freed from the paralysis, or what exactly happened?
You snap out of it in the sense that, I don't know how to explain it, but things just, what is there is now no longer there. My eyes are not closed, they're open. Like I can see the room as it is. It's not like the lighting changes or anything like that. It is as it is. It's just suddenly, it's not there anymore and you can suddenly move. I was suddenly able to move and she was no longer there.
So basically, sleep paralysis is you're having a dream with your eyes open
You can't
and you
move.
can't snap out of it. Like sometimes, but even when you're having like a bad dream, it takes you a minute to kind of snap out of it, right? But with sleep paralysis, you can see your environment.
At least with me, I'm not sure how it is with anyone else, but with me, yeah.
Okay, so that's your experience. So some people could mistake that for a paranormal experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it a paranormal experience?
I hope it isn't, of course.
There have been theories put forward as to what it is, and it's just like you mentioned, it's like the fact that if your body didn't enter a state of paralysis during REM sleep, you would act out your dreams, and that's why your body, except your chest and your eyes, are moving during that time. And it's just the fact that the consciousness that you have, that's distorted in a way. So I think that's what people theorize, but it's a weird one, isn't it? Because it's not an experience that a lot of people have, but you do hear a lot of people have that shared experience. Like when you do hear cases of it, they sound quite similar, but it's quite rare.
So, I mean, have either of you had experiences that you can outright say, this was a supernatural experience? This is not normal. Like, it's not from this realm.
The only thing that has ever happened to me that I've not been able to explain, and it was not sleep paralysis related, was again at this same student accommodation.
Okay.
I was in bed and I was sleeping, but you know, there was a bed and then a wardrobe at the end of the bed that was like side on, and then a desk near your head, and then there was just open floor for the rest of it, right? But the bed was like in the corner of the room. So I was sleeping on my right hand side. I've been like sleeping in a ball, like a baby, right, on my right. And I remember in my sleep feeling, and I'm sorry, Shukti, I know this is going to freak you out because I know I've tried to tell you before and you stopped me, but here it goes. I had felt a hand around my ankle.
Oh my God.
And it pulled my leg. And at that point, I woke up. And while my eyes were open, I have been pulled down. And I know that because my eyes were open and I could see the room slide past me. Now, my foot has then collided with the wardrobe. And at that point is when I have sat up and nothing was there.
I'm never going to sleep again. I'm going to be too scared.
But at this point, it was literally my left leg was outright straight when it was being pulled and my right leg was still bent. So like when I've sat up, it's been like that, like I'm looking at my leg and my left leg is planted against the cupboard and my right foot is still bent. Like I literally was pulled, and I don't know what the hell that was. I've not been able to explain.
The thing is, I always try to rationalize things that have happened to me, right? So I think I distort that memory and I try to rationalize it, right? So I recall when I had the bunk bed, you guys remember I had a bunk bed. I remember one night I was...
It wasn't a bunk bed.
It's too complicated to explain what it was, but literally it was an elevated bed.
Yeah.
It was a bed on top of a cupboard and a stack of drawers.
It was a cool bed. It was a cool bed.
It was really cool.
I remember that it was a particular day we were watching a film that wasn't even scary. It was a family film, right? And I went upstairs. I was trying to sleep and I kept visualizing something from the film that was very happy families, but I visualized it in a kind of evil, demonic way. It's like everything just turned a bit demonic. And I felt fingernails down my back and my bed felt like it was very, very hot, like very hot.
You were awake when this happened?
I'm awake. I'm fully awake, or it feels like I'm awake. And it feels like I'm not dreaming. But I do often get very intrusive thoughts that I can't quite shake. I thought maybe it was an intrusive thought, but I can't explain the sensation. So I'll put it down to things like maybe that movement is like my blood is flowing slightly differently because I've got this demonic view of the visual that I saw. That's kind of how I rationalized the fingernails on the back, but it felt human. So that kind of freaked me out a little bit. And it's probably a way of self-preservation that I've not really spoken about this or thought about it very much until you just mentioned your thing, Shreeya, and it just triggered this memory of mine.
Yeah, same with me. I've not really spoken to anyone about it because I'm like, one, I sound crazy for saying that that's happened, and then two, I just kind of don't want to think about it.
And here we are sharing it in front of...
Here we are sharing it with the world.
So a couple things have happened with me. When I was like 12 or 13, I used to have a paper round, okay?
Yeah.
And near our house, like I'd probably say, I don't know, literally down the road, there was an area that was known for being haunted. But when I was 12 or 13, I didn't know that area, it didn't lead to the main road. It was literally a dead end. So we never went there. But my paper round, the route was such that I had to deliver papers to the house that was closest to that area. And I didn't know that this place is supposed to be haunted, but literally my blood would run cold whenever I was approaching. There was only 4 houses that used to be nearby. Yeah. I used to be so freaked out, and I never knew why. I never knew why I'm getting scared here or why I'm feeling uncomfortable. What's the problem with going down here? And I used to really avoid it if I could, or I'd try and take someone with me. And it was only a few years later that we got to know that this was the thing. So this area, like it was an area that was closed off and it was supposed to be haunted.
We all found out at the same time, I think.
Yeah, we did. And I think even like a couple times we had gone on like a walk around there and we did feel weird. I think unanimously felt weird without knowing what was going on when we were quite young. You know, when you're at that age when you first start hanging out with your friends who live nearby, which happened a bit later for you. It was like early high school. It didn't happen in primary school, right?
Early high school.
It was high school. So then I used to tag along, our little sister's tagging along with the big sister's friends. And I remember going around that area. This is before my paper round, and we used to get freaked out and we never knew why.
Yeah.
And we never really even spoke about it, but we always used to run away from that place. Anyway, so that's the first thing that happened. Now, the second thing, which has happened to me as an adult, okay, so when our grandma passed away, you were quite heavily pregnant with your first kid, right?
Yeah, I was due in 2 weeks, pretty much.
Yeah, you were due in 2 weeks. And after the funeral and everything, I came back to work in Mumbai. And on one particular night, I was sleeping and I heard our grandma's bangles. Distinctive noise, right? Of like gold bangles rattling against each other. And it was like, do you remember when she used to walk up the stairs and like her bangles would hit the banister thing, the metal bit? And it used to make that distinctive clanging sound when she'd go up the stairs and she'd use the lift as like support. So I heard that noise and it woke me up and I was sat up in my bed and I could hear it again and again and again, and I was like trying to find the source of the noise. I couldn't hear it, and then I got a call to say from, I can't remember who called me. Shreeves, was it you? Was it mum? I don't remember. Someone called me from home to say that you've had the baby, and then never heard it again. So it's not necessarily a negative experience. It might be ridiculous, but I feel like she was trying to wake me up and be like, you know, you're the only person from the family who doesn't know yet, like wake up. I can't explain this noise. Had I been woken up by the call, I could have been like, okay, it was a dream. And then I don't know about you, but Shreeya and I felt her presence quite a lot.
A lot.
With you did as well, innit?
I did, specifically at the house.
Yeah.
Not outside the house.
So now the weird thing about this is that Shreeya and I at least have exchanged notes on this particular topic. Shreeya did some research into it. I have only had this experience about feeling her presence while I was at our family home, and then the one time when I was in Mumbai where I feel like she was waking me up. Apart from that, after a while it just went away. And Shreeya actually did some research into this, and it's like religiously, apparently, once you put the ashes, I mean, she was cremated, so you take the ashes and you put it into the river, that's when the spirit is released, so it's no longer on earth, right? And Shreeya, you found this out after we stopped feeling her presence.
Yeah, because I remember coming home and that presence that seemed almost constant that entire time was no longer there when we came back home after.
Yeah. And there was a long gap. It was like she passed away in February and we didn't get a chance to take the ashes
until October. Yeah.
So it was like a huge time that we were feeling her presence, and then suddenly it had gone. Yeah. And then I know you did research in it, like, why is it gone? Where's it gone? What is this?
What does it mean?
And what does it mean? You know, it's stuff like this that you can't explain. And if you tell another person, they're like, oh, it's probably just grief.
You're probably just grieving, yeah. And then I've only told a couple of people about this and they said the same thing. You're probably just grieving and maybe just, you know, doing her ashes part of it all and then coming back home just has lifted that thing off of you. And I'm like, no, it's not. It was so much more than that.
Yeah.
But there was a couple of other things that happened at that same time. Shukti, if you remember when we came home, do you remember what we found on our bed?
Was it her
It was a button.
A button, yeah.
So it was really bizarre. We came back home after she passed, and me and you were just talking in our room. And at this point, she hadn't been at home for a few days now, right? Like she's not been around. Had it come off of her sweater or something before that, we would have found it. Do you know what I mean? But on the bed was just this, like a green button of hers from a cardigan that she used to wear.
Yeah.
Now that cardigan, I've not been able to find. I don't know where it's gone. But we both remembered that button, and it was just there on the bed.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, where on earth has it come from?
And why didn't we find it like the day before that, or the day before that, or the day before that? The whole time she'd been in hospital, we were occupying that space. We were still sleeping in that bed.
On the foot of the bed, it was just there under the duvet.
Yeah.
Like, it would have got kicked off at some point, you know, if it was been there before, but it was just there. Yeah. Which is really weird.
So, I mean, it's stuff like this where I can't be one to be like, no, I don't believe in it. I don't believe in ghosts. I mean, I don't really know how I feel about bad ghosts. Like, you know, like ghosts that'll possess you and all that. I really don't.
Demons.
I've never experienced anything to do with that.
Yeah, I do think that certain places have very bad vibes, and you can't shake that vibe, and you don't know what's causing the bad vibe. I definitely believe in that. I believe in vibes for sure, and whether that's some kind of evilness that's been left behind by supernatural source. I mean, I can't rationalize that feeling.
So
you can't. You can't.
A freaky thing, right, is that a few years ago, like quite a while ago, I did a shoot on the beach over here, on one of the beaches in Mumbai, and it was like first thing on the morning. We had to get there like 4:00 in the morning or something, like before sunrise, to set up. And the beach, I kid you not, was covered with lemons. Okay. Yeah, with lemons. I know that sounds funny, but if you look into it, lemons, and there was something like coconuts and like some other weird stuff, but like majority was lemons. And by lemons, I don't mean the ones you get in the UK, the big ones. I mean the little ones that like limes. They are used as like apparatus to do black magic. So that means like people had been on that beach the night before and they were practicing black magic.
Oh no.
Yes. I thought chili and lemon was to ward off the evil eye, or is that a different thing altogether?
I think that's different when it's like paired with chilies and just hung at your door.
Yeah, that's a different thing. It went to the extent that, you know, the people that on the set, so you on a typical Mumbai film set, right, you find people from different backgrounds. So the people that believed in this were literally telling us, do not step on these lemons because you could get possessed by whatever spirit it was that they were trying to evoke or whatever. You could get affected by it. So what's your lot's take on black magic?
Oh, I don't know.
I know there's some people who are pure evil and they wish bad upon other people. And sometimes I think it's, again, the transfer of those bad vibes. But in terms of black magic, I don't know its effectiveness. B, I don't know if I strictly believe in the art of magic, if you like, good or bad.
There's two different things I want to talk about when it comes to this. Is that one is that people practice it like crazy in India, at least. Like, I've never heard of people actually practicing it like in the UK when you have conversations with people. But over here, right, when our other grandma passed away, it wasn't like a crematorium in the UK. It was like when you're getting cremated in India, it's like an open fire, right? It's not the electronic version of it that we get over there. It's an open fire with wood and whatever. So after a point, when the skin has all melted off the deceased body, bones are then visible. So what I got to know when I'd attended that funeral was that people had to be present until the fire's not died down, which could take like a day or 2 days or however long it takes, because people will come and steal the bones to practice black magic.
Oh,
that's messed up.
That's really...
Yeah, it's weird. So my thing is if it's all fake, then why are people going to this extent? Okay, I'm not saying that, oh no, it's definitely real. And I'm not saying that it's not. I genuinely don't know. I don't know. And I can't discard anything until I don't have like evidence that it's rubbish.
I've heard that people deeply believe in it because I've heard of cases. I'm a massive follower of true crime across the world, and I've heard of cases of people literally sacrificing children in order to, because they believe that for whatever reason. And I've heard of that in the Western world as well, in celebrity circles, about human sacrifice, to try and prolong life, or it's like it's a desire for youth, or something along those lines, or the desire for a baby, that you will get blessed with a baby if you do something to another human. So I know that people deeply believe in these things. I think those people are messed up. I know that the human suffering is caused by it, but is that caused by magic, or is that caused by deliberate acts of violence to try and further their own agenda?
That's what I think as well, because I don't actually fully understand what practicing black magic means. I know people practice it, but it seems like they're just doing physical action and putting random ingredients together, and what does that actually do?
So a similar topic that can be tied into this topic is the Illuminati, right? Because kind of a way of practicing black magic to further your agenda, right, of your life, and basically evoking, I don't know, powers from the devil, or I don't really know actually exactly how you do it, or no one knows. No one even knows if it's real. But then I would just like to thank Beyonce for letting us do this podcast.
Exactly.
Exactly. And I love the woman, I really do. But I really do. Like, I sing her songs every day. And I'm not just saying that.
No.
I genuinely love Beyonce. But thank you, Beyonce, for letting us have this podcast. You are the artist of our lives.
You are.
But, so yeah, the Illuminati, I think also there's like some kind of ritual stuff that they have to do, right, to join, which does overlap with what people do when they want to do black magic. Now, I think there's some artists that have spoken about it, so I don't know about in the Western world if they have, but like Honey Singh on his documentary, right, he's actually spoken about how he was taken to, like, I can't remember exactly because the documentary, I think I saw it about whenever it came out. I think I saw it on the first day it came out. And he spoke about how he was taken to a room and it was like demonic, and he was they were trying to lure him in. And it's kind of weird because then at the same time, how is it possible that this is real? But then at the same time, some people achieve so much when in an unexpected way as well. So it's like, is it real? I don't know.
In the Western world, there's been a lot of sinister stuff that's been documented recently about, things that are going on. So you mentioned Illuminati, but then there's also things like Pizzagate, which deals with child trafficking. So I, again, I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to name names, but there's a lot of theories. Around things like this.
Now, okay, pulling you back to the Eastern influence a little bit. Okay, so now across the board in the South Asian culture, there's this whole Natter thing that people talk about. Okay. Now my question is, so for people who don't know what Natter is, it's like evil eye. So the way everyone wears those kind of blue and white and black evil eyes, right, to protect them from evil eye. My question is, what is evil eye? And how do you know if you're giving it to someone? And how do you know if you're getting it? Genuinely?
I don't know the answers to those questions. All I know is it's really widespread, like from Turkey all the way through to just like South Asia. I don't know if it transcends any further than that. But I know there's ways of knowing whether you have had it upon you. And one of the rituals that you do is that you burn chilies at the stove. If they have an odour to them, that means that you don't have an evil eye on you. If it burns without an odour, that means that you've had evil eye on you. And apparently that reverses it. That ritual reverses it.
So that's what happened to us when we got this ritual done to us, when we were like, as a family, going through a bit of a rough time. And, someone did do this evil eye removal. But my question is, can anyone give you evil eye? Like, if I look at someone and I'm like, oh yeah, I like her outfit, am I giving her evil eye, or is there a ritual behind it?
I read somewhere into this. I think it crosses over with black magic a little bit. Again, I don't know what it is that people do, but they do something so that something goes wrong with you. And I think they're quite specific about what it is that they want going wrong with you. But then when things get reversed, I have read that it hits them like tenfold.
Right. Okay.
That's why I'm pretty sure it's connected to the whole black magic stuff, this evil eye.
That's what I'm thinking, because generally when you are trying not to get an evil eye, like for example, if you're looking good on a particular day, it's quite normal for somebody's, like, there's a, you know, girl stepping out of a house, she's looking nice and whatever, and her mum will come and like put like a little black mark on her cheek or on the back of her ear or whatever, so she's not 100% perfect anymore.
Yeah.
People get those tattooed on nowadays. Have you seen it?
Yeah, people get those tattooed on, or they wear like a black thread, like we have been wearing for a few years since we went through that rough time.
Yeah.
We've been wearing a black thread, and that is so there's like something on you that's making you imperfect, kind of. I think that's my interpretation of it anyway.
Yeah.
So there must be something that people do to put nazar on you, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't think I'm capable of giving it to anyone just because I think a person looks nice, because by now John Abraham wouldn't exist. Because God knows, I have looked at him and thought, wow, like every time I look at him, every time he's on TV, like all the time.
I think it has to be done with intent, with negative intent, right? So if you wish evil upon somebody because of that, so it's not like, so you wouldn't give it to John Abraham per se, but say if you saw a pretty girl and you were like, oh, hating on her for looking that good, but if it crossed to like a deeper kind of evil stage, I don't exactly know how that happens, that's when it would transcend into nazar. But I don't think none of us three have that evil streak in us, really. So it's a bit hard for us
This
to
is the thing,
get
though,
it. Yeah.
I don't know if I don't do it as much with you guys because you get shy very easily. And I do as well. I don't like it happening to me because I get shy very easily. But I hype people up quite a lot when they're looking good. So I'll be like, oh, wow, look at you, you know, whatever. And like some people really like it and they're like, oh, you're such a hype girl. But I have a couple of friends that are like, okay, stop, because you're going to give me nazar. Like, I've been like, oh, your hair looks really nice, or your hair's like getting thicker, and your skin looks so clear, and they'll be like, don't give me nazar. And I'm like, I'm saying nice things. Like, I don't. So in that way, I think there's another side to it where it's almost like jinxing something, because now you've said that something is good, then it's going to go wrong. There's that side of it as well.
There is, for sure, because I've said sometimes, like, if I say anything complimentary about my kids in front of my mum, in front of our mum rather, she would say, don't say it, because apparently a mother's nazar kind of falls on the child more than outsiders, for example.
I don't see how that makes any sense.
I know.
It doesn't, but I need to speak to mum about it and get to the bottom of it.
I don't think she knows.
Because mum has been bigging us up a lot since we've grown up. Like, she didn't big us up so much when we probably were feeling not so great about us at like teenage years. I don't know. She was a bit stricter. But like, since we've grown up, she's like, oh my God, my daughter's so fly. You know what I mean?
She is. So isn't like before we leave the house as well, which is one of the superstitions. But like before we leave the house as well, she'll be like, when we're dressed up to go somewhere or whatever, she'll be like, she'll be our hype girl and be like, oh my God, look at my 3 girls.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I totally appreciate her doing that, but then I don't get it either. At the same time, I don't get the cultural aspect of, or maybe mum just doesn't believe in it, but then if she's telling Did not to say it to the kids,
she's telling
then
me
maybe
not.
she does believe it on some level.
Yeah.
Or maybe she thinks kids are more, like we were saying at the beginning, maybe kids are more susceptible to this kind of stuff. Maybe.
I think so, because if you recall, when one of my children was a bit younger, there was an imaginary friend.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I remember that.
No, let's not go down that route.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Enough said. There was some creepy things said about the imaginary friend, so let's not go there. We don't want to scare you all off yet.
I'm already getting flashbacks of that. Which movie was it with the Toby? Oh,
Paranormal Activity.
Paranormal Activity.
Which one, though?
Toby.
It was 3, wasn't it? 3 or... That was, I think... After that, I'd sworn off horror movies. I've seen to be fair, I have seen a couple, but like at the time I was, I'm never watching a horror film again. I can't do it. I can't do it.
The only thing that I find sinister about certain horror movies is when, after the completion of the film, there's a death on set. Or like, there's either a death on set or death of somebody close in the crew or in the main cast. And that film did have someone die, by the way. Paranormal Activity 3. The father in that film ended up dying before the film's release.
But then, you know, I hate to say this, but I feel like it's possible, right? I'm not accusing anyone, but it's possible that horror movie makers use that as a marketing tactic as well.
Oh, they do, for sure.
Because you are literally shooting with 300 to 400 people, right? Over the period of 1 to 2 years, the chances are something might happen to someone. It's not, unlikely.
Yeah.
It's possible because even the ages vary a lot. You have really
They do, but I think all these deaths, all the well publicised ones, have always been untimely. I think that's the sinister thing.
But I mean, what about the guy from Parasite? The man from Parasite who that was untimely. But Parasite was not a horror film, therefore it didn't get that kind of hype. I've done comedy movies, hardcore comedy movies where someone has been on set one day and the next day they're not there anymore because they passed away. So I don't know, on some level, maybe this is just my movie side where I see how much people put into the marketing of it, where I just don't find things authentic anymore. I might be wrong. Maybe there are creepy things that happen in a horror movie set. I just don't get how, because it's all artificial. Go on, Shreeya.
Another example of this, I remember watching a documentary from when I was a kid, because, I used to love doing that. One of them was about this a play of Macbeth in London that they have. That's always done in a specific place. And I don't remember where it is. I just remember it's the Macbeth play in London. But that's supposed to be cursed in some way. So, like, there's been a lot of deaths, a lot of unexplained deaths, a lot of accidents that shouldn't have happened, including the cast and crew. So I think one of the first ones was something like, there's a scene in there where they're fencing and they're fighting, and I don't know what that sword thing is called. Do you know? Is it a sword? Is it something else? A saber?
Fencing sword.
A fencing sword. That's what we're going to go.
Saber. Is it? It might be a saber.
I don't know if it's a saber, but whatever. It has like a safety ball on the end of it, like a very small one that's supposed to then stop it like piercing someone. So at the point when it's supposed to pierce someone, but not actually pierce them because the safety ball on, that at some point has fallen off while they've been on stage, and that other person has been injured, like while
actually,
injured, like it has, yeah. So there's a lot of hauntings that connect to that. Like, I don't think that person survived, and since then there's been like a lot of hauntings on set. There's been like further deaths. There've been further accidents. Like during the play, behind the play. So I know of this. I can't be more specific than that because I do not remember. But I remember watching this as a kid, and it is true. It is one of the Macbeth plays in London.
There was a documentary on this. I can't remember what it was called, but it was talking about like unexplained deaths on set or during certain plays that people regard as haunted. Like there's certain plays that people don't want to be involved in purely for this reason.
Yeah. Like they said, one of the superstitions for this was to not say Macbeth 3 times before you go and do the play.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
That's a superstition that they had. Like if you say Macbeth 3 times before the play, then like a death will happen, or
oh my gosh,
something will go wrong. Something really.
You just know there'd be some really irritating person who would say it on purpose just to wind.
They did on the documentary. They did.
Did they?
They said, "Oh, like, should we risk it? Like, do it. Let's see what happens." I was gonna say a lot of things do go wrong in hotels, though, don't they? There's a lot of hauntings in hotels and a lot of unexplained deaths that happen in hotels.
You know about that hotel in America where she was behaving really weird on CCTV camera, and then they found her in the water tank. Cecile Hotel.
Yeah,
that hotel's known for a lot of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a hotel where I have shot at night, and it is freaky. It is so freaky. So it's a huge property. Okay, huge. It's empty now, and it's just left to fend for itself, or maybe they cover the costs by giving it out for shooting purposes or whatever. Lots of movies have been shot there. And I don't know exactly what happened there, because I think it's something that maybe some drama might have kicked off however many years ago, and that's why this hotel, which is stunning, okay, it's really beautiful, but it's not non-functional now. And there's even cars parked outside in the car park, which have been there since the day it shut down. But why it shut down, why are the cars still there, or it makes no sense. But lots of people have had weird experiences going into that hotel and have seen things. Personally, I didn't, but then I was so petrified I didn't go anywhere on my own.
Oh, yeah.
But there are lots of different places within Mumbai, at least 4 or 5. If you Google them, they come up as really haunted places. So one is a particular road, And again, the boy the guy that I'm getting married to, which by the way is in 8 months, not in 9 months. I calculated it wrong.
Oh.
It'll be 8 months in 10 days. So he'd packed up from a shoot and he was driving back to his place, and it was night, and this road is known to be haunted, like one of the most haunted places in the country.
Yeah.
And as he was driving, in his rearview mirror, he saw someone on his back seat.
Oh my God, that freaked
Oh
me
my
out.
Lord.
That's something I hallucinate about a lot.
And I don't know what he saw. I'm too scared to even ask the details or whatever. It was male, female, I don't know. But he like pulled up and like turned around and there was no one there. So he just zipped it off that road as quick as possible. And it's a really long stretch. There's no side roads either. It's a long stretch through like literally a jungle, I would say. It's very dimly lit. And after that, he's never taken that route again. He'll rather take a detour and go the long way around than ever go. He's never been there again. But again, he could have been tired after a long shoot. You know, it's hard to tell.
I'm
it's
so going to ask details about that. I need to know.
He has a couple more as well, but I'm not going to say them here because they're kind of lengthy stories, and I didn't really ask for permission for the other ones. But like, yeah, next time you come, or if we do a part 2 to this, because clearly we have a lot to say.
Yeah.
Then if we do part 2, then maybe I'll just ask him, like, can I say it or whatever. But no, he's got a couple experiences, a couple more. This one is like the main one as a grown up.
Shall we leave experiences to part 2 then? In terms of like experiences of others, because we've got a couple of experiences of somebody else we know.
Yeah,
we have. I mean, we've had varied topics, so I hope that you guys who are listening are with us at this point, because we've done weight loss, we've done weddings, we've done cruelty free, and now we're doing like the supernatural and like superstition. So I mean, I hope you guys are listening and you're interested in what we're saying. I mean, we find it interesting. That's why we're talking for so long.
That's why we talk for so long. Oh my goodness.
But okay, we'll follow up with a part 2 on other supernatural experiences.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Over and out,
There'll have to be a follow-up one.
Pardon? Yeah, they will. Bye.
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 Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Sleep easy.